Because so often, especially in business, we see humility as being weak or meek or inferior or less than. And it's not that at all. When I think about humility, really two things come to mind for me. First is a humble person is willing to accept their weakness without getting defensive. That is really hard, especially if we're in a position of leadership or a position of influence. When somebody calls us out for a mistake that we've made or something that we haven't done well, so often like the wall goes up and we get really defensive. We start to defend our position. We blame other people or other circumstances or try to deflect any of that responsibility off of us because it's uncomfortable to admit weakness. But a humble person recognizes we're all human, we're fallible, we're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. Now, the other part of humility that I don't think we talk about very often that ties into the study that I just mentioned a minute ago is confidence. I call it humble confidence. What that means is that we recognize and accept our strengths, the things that we do well, the experience that we have, the resources that we have, the position of authority that we're in. We recognize those things, but it's the real kicker is, what do we do with that recognition? Do we use those things to build ourselves up? Do we use those things to advance our own careers? Because that's not humility. That's often when ego gets in the way, when we think, oh, look at what I've done, look at what I have. That's when ego takes over. But a humble person, a humbly confident person, looks at all of those things and says, look at all these things that I have. How lucky, how blessed am I, and how can I use those things to lift up the people around me? So humility is just as much about our strengths as it is about recognizing our weaknesses. Now, what are some of the